Hi there, this is Matt Cox in Central Phoenix, and I'm a realtor here, and I wanted to go over some of the data that was over 2022. I basically want to go over the average close price in Central Phoenix, Buckeye, and Queen Creek. So we have basically, we're going to cover the Central Phoenix, okay? Then we're going to touch on Buckeye, and then we're going to touch on Queen Creek, and we're going to go all over the valley. And I'm kind of like doing this just because you can kind of get a bigger picture of what's going on. And I personally love numbers. When I was talking about the technicals, I feel like this is a part of the technicals. And your realtor should know how much neighborhoods are appreciating by. And I think it's a good tell of demand. And what's really interesting is that even in the face of high interest rates, even in the face of buyers protesting and leaving the market, we see really astronomical growth. Okay. I mean, normally when we think about real estate, you think of a slow and steady business model where basically you're thinking like 4 or 5%, right? Um, but overall, when we look at it, we see massive, massive growth in Arizona. And it's pretty obvious because of mass migration and the advent of Arizona's industrialization. So let's just go over 2022's numbers, okay? And remember, we're thinking that 2023 is going to be kind of flatline, okay? Which I think is okay after seeing so much growth. In this case, in Central Phoenix, we see that the appreciation is approximately 16.92%. I think it's pretty great, actually. Now, if we look in Buckeye, we basically see an average appreciation of 14.62. So we're comparing 2021's average close price and 2022 average close price throughout the year. Okay. So we're comparing all of 2021 and comparing all of 2022. And closed is how much the house actually sold for, not list, not that any of that other stuff. We're just talking um, straight close, how much it's selling for. Okay. And we saw a growth of 14.62% in Buckeye. Then when we go to Queen Creek, the story gets a lot more interesting. We see 19.82% appreciation, which I think is amazing. So, and actually, when you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. There's lots of semiconductor companies down there. You have Intel and Chandler, you have Fujifilm is down there, and you basically there's just a lot of growth. You have even Electrica Mechanica is opening a shop in Mesa, which is not going to be that far from this area. So, and also the other thing that could be contributing to its growth is this the I-24. It's basically expanding the freeway all the way through Queen Creek, which I think is really good. It's going to make um, housing a lot more accessible down here, and it's going to drive up demand for Queen Creek. And I think it's actually overall really good, right? It's going to relieve some of the pressure that's building up in housing and rental costs in Central Phoenix. And hopefully, this is going to inspire developers to move out in this area and develop more real estate and so forth and so forth. Um, I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you some a tidbit of something to bite because of the I-24. I think the two areas that you could be potentially looking in are Florence and Coolidge, as especially if you are working down in that area or if you find a job in the area. I think what's great about Florence and Coolidge is they're pretty historic towns and they're really not that far from Queen Creek. And with the I-24, you're going to have access to the airport and basically you'll have access to everything. I think the thing that's really important to note, though, is Florence didn't have the best reputation, and partially it's because of the prison that was there. But I'm going to let you in on a secret. The prison has moved. There's no prison in Florence anymore. So if I'm looking for affordable housing and trying to get away from the hustle and bustle of the city, I don't think it's a bad area. And you could probably see the stars at night too. So something to think about. Um, as well. So you have Florence and Coolidge, I think are going to be a great opportunity in the next 5 to 10 years. I mean, just Queen Creek that's astonishing. 20% is huge. Basically 17% in Central Phoenix and 15% in Buckeye. So you can see all over the valley, we saw appreciation across the board. That's even after buyers fled starting in June, right? We saw buyers just totally dropped off. If you locked in your mortgage rate, those were the buyers that were left. And anyone else got super discouraged and basically protested the market and left. But I also want to talk about another story, right? If you're just watching YouTube day in and day out and you see all this negative press about the housing market is crashing, look at the data, we see average days on market going up, we see listing prices being cut by 20%, 10%, 30%, all this other stuff. I want to give you a perspective of a longer term picture and not even that much longer, right? If you're watching YouTube every day and you see all these people are calling for a crash, and they're showing a chart and it's trending down and then they draw a big red down arrow and you're like, oh my gosh, it's going to crash. Let's think about this. I'm going to give you a personal perspective of something I went through and what it looks like in Central Phoenix with boots on the ground eye test. Okay. So in December 2021, my wife and I placed an offer on a house, okay, for $380,000 just down the street. And it was getting listed for $350,000. So we basically said, hey, we're going to pay $30,000 over asking. We're going to cover the closing costs for the seller, and we're going to basically buy sight unseen. We'll have an inspection period, but we put in the binzer that we're not going to ask for repairs. We basically give them almost everything. They don't even have to. Basically, the only thing the sellers got to pay for is their agent, essentially, and that's it. So after all that, we lost out on the house over $5,000. So $5,000. It still bothers me today. Probably to some other person that doesn't even care about that house. Anyway, so we lost that house, and it still blows me away. 6 to 7 months later, so now we're December 2021. We go to June 2022. Okay, 6, 7 months later, 3 houses down, the house go over $580,000. Blown away. And I saw that in like June 22nd, interest rates go up. So I'm thinking to myself, like, this is going to be pretty wild to watch. And 4 months later, they ended up selling it, or 3.5 months later, they ended up selling it in like September for $525,000. And if you watch a YouTuber who just watched, like, I could just imagine a YouTuber basically looking at that transaction and being like on the thumbnail, and they're basically saying, housing market is crashing. Oh my gosh, you lost like 65 grand on the listing. The flipper is going like breaking even or losing and all this other stuff. And like, it's all doom and gloom. And here I am looking at myself like, I missed out on the house at $380,000. They ended up selling the other one for $525,000 within less than 10 months. So basically September, and you go from December to September. I mean, is that really a crashing housing market? And yeah, so what you're seeing is, if any price reductions are occurring, two things. One, the mania is gone. So sellers are not so cocky anymore, and they are humbling themselves to the reality that, hey, the market has changed, right? Number two is this. If a house is going down in price, it's because, right, there's no more buyers, but also sellers are selling not because they have to, because they want to sell. That's the other huge thing, right? In a previous video, I was talking about foreclosures and how there's no foreclosure, that the quality of the borrower is higher than it's ever been. And a lot of these homeowners are not going to just like sell their house with their tail between their legs. We have these homeowners who have the highest credit score in almost American history ever. And they're not going to just go down without a fight. This idea that like the housing market's going to crash and everyone's going to just flood the inventory. I'm like, I don't see it. I think that with mass migration and there's so many people looking for homes, and if a seller wants to sell, and if they take a price cut, it's because they want to, and it's because they have to, because of, not because of financial reasons, but they have to because either they're getting a divorce, or they're moving jobs, or they want to downsize, or they want to expand. I mean, you have an infinite number of valid reasons why, hey, you might want to just take the sale so you can liquidate that asset and use those funds for something else. So, I mean, you have an infinite number of reasons why you want to sell a property. Okay. But the point is, the high interest rates did get rid of some of the mania. The downside is, the mortgage payment is so high, and that's terrible for the middle class. That's the only thing that kills me, is how, like, I think this kind of sucks for the middle class, that they're getting hammered with these high interest rates. But we've seen from Queen Creek in this story that basically one way that Americans are looking, especially in Phoenicians and Arizonans, are looking for more affordable housing, is that they're getting out of the metropolitan centers and they're going to the outskirts of the city, and that's where we're seeing more and more demand, is looking for more affordable housing outside of the Phoenix City Center. So I think that's a good thing, and overall, I am very excited for 2023. I'm excited for 2024, and I'm really excited to see uh, how the story is going to unfold in Arizona. And I think that there's lots of opportunity still for people. So that being said, if you like this video, please reach out. Let me know if there's if you want a list of houses that are $400,000 or less. In the link below, I'm basically going to put um, a link there that you can download to be able to get all the homes that are currently for sale on the market under 400 grand. So food for thought. And that's basically it. I have more content on the way. I'll be talking about the current buyer's market as well. And I hope this information helped and was able to kind of get you off the ledge of all the black pill doomer stuff. Okay, there is light at the end of the tunnel, and the data shows it. So, all right, guys, I'll talk to you soon.